The cold wind cut through the city streets, sending a shiver down my spine as I stepped out of my sleek black car. My driver had just pulled up in front of my company's headquarters, a towering glass building that stood as a symbol of everything I had built over the last decade. I adjusted my tailored coat and reached for my phone when my gaze landed on something, or rather, someone, that made my heart stop. A woman, wrapped in a thin, tattered coat, sat hunched on a worn-out bench by the sidewalk. Two small children, no older than 3 or 4, clung to her. Their little hands gripped her arms as they huddled together for warmth. I shouldn't have paid her any more attention. Homelessness was, unfortunately, a common sight in the city. But there was something about her that felt familiar. Then I saw it. The silver ring on her left hand. A ring I had given once, years ago. My breath caught in my throat as she lifted her face slightly, the dim streetlights catching her features. It was her. Lena. The love of my life. The woman who had vanished from my world without a trace. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. My mind raced, trying to process what I was seeing. Lena, my Lena, was here looking thin, exhausted, and homeless. I took a step forward, my heartbeat thundering in my ears. She hadn't seen me yet. Her gaze was lowered, her fingers stroking the messy curls of one of the children. They were her kids. Our kids? No. Impossible. A million thoughts ran through my mind. I hadn't seen her in 7 years. Back then, we were in love, young and foolish, dreaming about a future together. Then one day, she disappeared. No warnings. No goodbyes. I had searched for her. I had begged for answers. But it was as if she had been wiped from existence. And now, here she was, on the streets, with twins. I took another step forward, the need for answers overwhelming me. But before I could say a word, she glanced up. And the moment our eyes met, her face drained of color. Lena's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her eyes, those same warm hazel ones I had once fallen in love with, were wide with something I hadn't expected. Fear. She clutched the children tighter, as if shielding them from me. Why? A pit formed in my stomach. My voice came out rough, uncertain. Lena? She flinched, like my voice burned her. The reaction made no sense. It's me, Adrian, I said, taking another cautious step. Her breathing quickened, her hands trembling as she held onto the children. You, she swallowed hard, shaking her head. You shouldn't be here. I stared at her, completely thrown. I had thought she'd be relieved, shocked maybe. But there was something wrong in her eyes. Something that screamed danger. Lena, what happened to you? My voice was barely above a whisper. Where have you been all these years? Her gaze flickered around anxiously, as if expecting someone to appear. She looked over her shoulder, her grip on the twins tightening. And then, she did something that shattered me. She grabbed the kids and ran. I stood frozen for a second, my brain refusing to register what had just happened. Then instincts kicked in. Lena, wait. I called after her. She didn't stop. She darted through the crowded sidewalk, weaving between pedestrians, the two little ones clinging to her desperately. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. I had power, influence. I could have her found in an instant if I wanted to. But I didn't want to send an army of men after her. I wanted her to come to me. I wanted to know the truth. So I did the only thing I could. I ran after her. Lena wasn't fast enough. Not with the kids in her arms. I caught up to her in an alleyway, breathless. She turned, chest heaving, and for the first time, I saw it up close. The fear in her eyes. I took a slow step forward. Lena, please, just talk to me. She shook her head violently. No. You don't understand. Then make me understand, I said, frustration creeping into my voice. Her eyes glistened. You can't be seen with me, Adrian. If they see you with me, she swallowed hard. They'll hurt you too. The words sent a cold chill down my spine. Who was they? Before I could ask, she turned on her heel and tried to leave again. I grabbed her wrist, stopping her. And then I noticed something else. Bruises. Dark ones, circling her wrist like a mark of ownership. A sick feeling churned in my stomach. Who did this to you? My voice was low, controlled. She snatched her arm away, shaking her head. Forget you saw me, Adrian. Please. Like hell I would. Lena, you know I won't just walk away from this, I said, my tone hard. If someone's hurting you. Her expression crumbled for a split second. And then, her voice came out barely above a whisper. You can't save me, Adrian. It's too late. But the moment she said it, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I was going to prove her wrong. I wasn't about to let Lena slip away again. Not this time. Not when everything in me screamed that she was in danger. I stepped forward, slow but determined. Lena, listen to me. I don't care who they are. I don't care what happened. You don't have to run anymore. Her arms tightened around the kids, her body trembling. You don't understand, she whispered. You shouldn't have seen me. I clenched my fists. The sight of her, so fragile, so afraid, was shredding me apart. The Lena I remembered was full of life, laughter, and fire. But this Lena? This was a woman on the run. A woman who had been through hell. Who did this to you? My voice was deadly quiet. She shook her head, stepping back. You need to go, Adrian. Walk away, please. Like hell I would. Instead, I reached into my pocket, pulled out a thick bundle of cash, and held it out. Take it. Get a hotel. Get food. Just let me help. She looked at the money as though it burned her. I can't take that. Why? Her eyes darted around again, paranoid. Because if they find out I spoke to you, they'll come for you too. That did it. A slow, ice-cold rage coiled in my chest. Whoever they were, I was going to find them. And they were going to pay. I met her eyes, speaking with quiet intensity. You are the love of my life, Lena. And I don't care what it takes. I'm not letting you suffer alone. She swallowed, tears welling up, but she said nothing. But I had already made up my mind. She wasn't going to escape me this time. Lena hesitated for a long moment, staring at the money. Her fingers twitched like she wanted to take it, but someone, was stopping her. Her eyes flickered to the kids, then back to me. I have to go, she whispered. No, I stepped forward, refusing to let her slip away again. Tell me where you'll be. I'll come. She flinched, shaking her head violently. No. Adrian. Please, don't look for me. It's better if you pretend we never saw each other. I clenched my jaw. And what about them? I gestured to the kids, who were staring at me with wide, innocent eyes. Lena's face crumbled, the weight of whatever hell she was in pressing down on her shoulders. I will keep them safe, she whispered, as if trying to convince herself. I lowered my voice. Let me help you, Lena. She turned her head, blinking fast, as though she was fighting tears. Then, with a pained look, she backed away and disappeared into the darkness. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Because I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I wasn't letting her go that easily. Lena thought she could disappear. She was wrong. The second she vanished, I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. It rang twice before a gruff voice answered. Yeah. Caleb, I need you to find someone for me. Caleb was a private investigator. One of the best. If Lena thought she could outrun me, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. I clenched my jaw. Her name is Lena Hart. She has 2 kids. She's in trouble, and I need to know who is after her. Caleb exhaled sharply. Got it. You want me to bring her in? No, I said immediately. Just find her. Discreetly. A pause. And if she doesn't want to be found? I stared into the night, my gut twisting. Then find out why. Hours turned into a restless night. I barely slept. By morning, I was pacing my office, waiting for Caleb's call. It came just after noon. Adrian. Caleb's voice was grim. You're not gonna like this. My grip tightened on my phone. Talk. She disappeared 7 years ago, right? Yes. Well, it wasn't by choice. A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean? Caleb hesitated. Adrian, she didn't just vanish. She was taken. My blood turned to ice. I gripped the edge of my desk. Taken by who? A man named Victor Malone. I didn't recognize the name. Caleb continued, his tone deadly serious. He's bad news. Runs underground businesses, human trafficking, illegal gambling rings, you name it. My heart pounded. And Lena? She was his fiancée. The world tilted.
No.
Lena would never. Caleb exhaled. Not by choice. I swallowed hard. She was forced. Yeah, Caleb muttered. And from what I'm seeing, she escaped. I staggered back. My mind was racing. Victor Malone. A man so dangerous Lena was willing to live on the streets rather than risk being found. And I had just walked right into her life again. I sucked in a sharp breath. If he finds her, Caleb's voice turned hard. Then she's dead. I stood at my office window, staring down at the city below. Lena had been taken, forced into something horrific. And yet, somehow, she had escaped. But now, thanks to me, Victor might know where she was. I closed my eyes, fists clenching.
No.
I won't let him touch her. I grabbed my phone again. Caleb. Yeah. I exhaled slowly, my jaw tightening. Find him. Caleb didn't waste time. He sent me everything he found. Victor Malone was dangerous, but he wasn't untouchable. I studied his movements, his businesses, his weak spots. Then I made a decision. If Victor wanted Lena back, he was going to have to go through me. I didn't hesitate. If Victor Malone was as dangerous as Caleb claimed, then he had resources, eyes everywhere. Which meant Lena and her kids were in danger. I had two choices. I could let her run and pray she outran him. Or I could end this myself. I picked up my phone. Caleb. Yeah. I want everything on Malone. His hideouts, his businesses, his weaknesses. Caleb was silent for a beat. You sure you want to go down this road? I clenched my jaw. I don't have a choice. I had lost Lena once. I wasn't going to lose her again. While Caleb worked on tracking Malone, I focused on finding Lena. I checked every shelter, every rundown motel. Nothing. I was getting desperate. Until one of my men sent me a photo. It was grainy, taken from security footage near a 24-hour diner. Lena, holding her kids. Alone. My stomach clenched. She looked exhausted, frail. But she was still running. I wasn't going to let her do it alone. I grabbed my keys and headed out. The diner was nearly empty when I walked in. And then I saw her. Lena sat in the corner, feeding her kids from a single plate. Her hands shook slightly as she cut the food into small bites. I stepped forward. She sensed me before she saw me. Her body tensed. Slowly, her head lifted, and our eyes met. I saw panic. I saw guilt. But more than anything, I saw defeat. She knew she couldn't run from me anymore. I slid into the seat across from her. She didn't speak. Neither did I. Then softly I said, Lena, I know everything. Her breath hitched. I leaned closer. And I swear to you, I won't let him take you back. Lena's hands clenched the edge of the table. Her eyes darted to her kids, making sure they weren't listening. Then she whispered, You don't understand, Adrian. He'll kill you. I didn't flinch. Let him try. She exhaled shakily. You think I wanted this? You think I didn't fight? Her voice cracked. I was forced. I had no choice. And when I finally got away, I had to disappear. I reached across the table, my fingers brushing hers. You're not disappearing anymore, I murmured. Her lip trembled. He'll find me. I smiled grimly. Then let's make sure he regrets it. Caleb called me an idiot when I told him the plan. Are you seriously using yourself as bait? He snapped. Not myself, I said. Her. Caleb cursed. You're playing a dangerous game, Adrian. I leaned back, watching Lena as she tucked the kids into bed. I know. Caleb sighed. I hope she's worth it. I didn't hesitate. She always was. We leaked information, just enough to make Malone think he had found her. The trap was set, and he took the bait. The night Lena had feared finally came. Malone's men found her motel. They thought she was alone. They thought she was helpless. They thought wrong. Because I was already there, waiting. The first man who stepped into the motel never saw me coming. I took him down in silence. The second one pulled a gun. I had mine first. Then everything went to hell. Gunfire. Shouting. Lena screamed as she grabbed the kids, shielding them. And then, the bastard himself walked in. Victor Malone. He was bigger than I expected. Cold eyes. Arrogant. He smirked when he saw Lena. You really thought you could escape me, sweetheart? I stepped between them. She's not yours anymore. Malone's smirk faded. He eyed me. You must be the idiot who thinks he can save her. I lifted my gun. Try me. For a long second, no one moved. Then Malone chuckled. All right, he said. Let's play. The fight was brutal. Malone wasn't just some rich thug, he was a killer. I took a hit to the ribs. A punch to the jaw. But I didn't stop. Because every time I faltered, I saw Lena. I saw her suffering. I saw the years he stole from her. I saw the kids, her kids. I saw the woman I had loved more than anything. And that's when I ended it. Malone lay on the ground, barely breathing. Sirens wailed in the distance. Lena was trembling, still holding her kids. I walked over and gently touched her face. It's over, I whispered. She sobbed. Collapsed against me. And for the first time in 7 years, she let herself believe it. Lena and her kids stayed at my penthouse that night. She didn't speak much, just held them close, as if afraid they'd vanish. I sat beside her. You're safe now, I promised. She looked at me. For how long? I took her hand, squeezing tight. For as long as you'll let me protect you. Days passed. Lena was different. She smiled more. She slept without waking up in terror. Her kids laughed again. She was healing. And every day, I fell for her all over again. One night, I found her on the balcony, staring at the stars. I walked up behind her. She whispered, I never stopped loving you, Adrian. My heart clenched. I turned her to face me. And I never stopped waiting for you. The kiss was slow, deep. Years of pain, longing, and hope poured into it. She melted against me. I held her tight, vowing to never let her go again. A week later, I bought a new ring. I knelt before her, heart pounding. Marry me, Lena. She gasped, covering her mouth. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Then she nodded. Yes. We married in a small ceremony. The kids ran around laughing. Lena smiled, a real smile. And for the first time in forever, I knew we were finally free. Malone was gone. The nightmares faded. But one thing remained, us. Stronger. Unbreakable. Not every love story gets a second chance. But ours? We fought for it. And we won. Together.